right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. You may notice by the lack of echo, I am not only back in the closet of solitude, there's stuff in here now. I have all of my stuff here. My beautiful pup is right out there in the living room or in my room or on the bed. Hard to say. Closet door is closed, and unless she comes over and closes the door, I have no damn clue what she's doing. She could be out there destroying my apartment for all I know, but I know she's not. She's a good, sweet dog. But yeah, we're settling into this city boy life here. It's an interesting time. Interesting time. I just went through. It wasn't the worst day of work I've had so far. It was it was a grueling one though, folks. There was a lot going on. I just drinking through a fire hose right now. Getting better. I'm not. I am firmly at the point where I am not terrible at my job. I'm not quite at the point where I'm great at my job and not awesome at multitasking. There's a lot of stuff to do, and it feels like not enough hours in the day sometimes. But that's just life. That's just life. We're here talking about sports though. But starting this thing off. One fun fact for you: the origin of the phrase "balls to the walls" has nothing to do with testicles. As much as you may think that may be the case, it refers to the throttle mechanism the throttle mechanism on old aircraft, which often had a ball at the top for a handle. If a pilot was pushing that ball to the dashboard of the plane, they were going full throttle, aka balls to the wall. Same thing with the phrase "balls out." It's just the ball throttle is out, away from the pilot, meaning the throttle is down. So there you go. There is your fun fact to start the show. And I'll tell you what, we got some stuff to talk about today, folks. It's not going to be quite as short of an episode today because, boy, we had some big-time extensions come down the pipe this week, man. I'm talking big-time players, specifically in the wide receiver core, who got paid. One that is so close to my heart, which you may already know who that is, but we're going to be kicking off the show with it. So, without further ado, let's just take a quick gulp/guzzle of this caffeinated beverage here, and let's just get into it. All right. Whew. That's good. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. And I need it. There was a long day at work today. But away from that, starting off this thing, how else would we start off this thing? The Vikings got the big one done, folks. Justin Jefferson is signing a 4-year, $140 million extension to stay in Minnesota. $110 million of it is guaranteed. He gets a 88.743, very specific number, but we won't go too far into that part. Guaranteed at signing. Unclear if that is a signing bonus or if that just goes straight into escrow for him to collect throughout, I don't know, the course of the season. Maybe he's getting in installments. I assume it's a signing bonus. But yeah, that's the highest for any non-QB in league history. Thank God we're done with the dumb speculation. No more talking about maybe the Bengals trade for him, which you're an idiot if you thought that was the case. Maybe the Vikings traded him on draft night, or we're going to trade him on draft night. None of that bullshit anymore. He's, locked in for the next 4 years. We have got him lined up. Him, Hawkinson, and him and Hawkinson are locked in for the next couple years, 24, 25, and 26. All those guys locked in through 2026. And boy, we have got a squad together on offense. We have got ourselves a plethora of weapons. Also coming across the timeline here, former Commanders tight end Logan Thomas is signing with the 49ers. So there you go. I put it out there. I didn't miss it. Not that that's huge news. Justin Jefferson, that's the news of the day. We don't give a damn about Logan Thomas. All due respect to him. He's a hell of an athlete. Terrible quarterback whenever he was first a quarterback, but a really, really dynamic athlete. Crazy that he moves as well as he does at 6'6". Anywho, though, we're talking about Justin Jefferson. Not nearly as large and freakishly athletic as Logan Thomas, but a much, 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 much better football player. And he is going to be in Minnesota for the foreseeable future. You may notice lining up with that 4-year base rookie contract for J.J. McCarthy. Doesn't run through the 5th-year option for, probably cap reasons more so than anything else. We'll see. I'm not looking that far into the future, quite frankly. I'm looking at the right now, and I'm seeing we got a first-round rookie quarterback. We've got the best tight end, well, one of the best tight ends in the league when he is healthy. We've got Jordan Addison that we just drafted last year. We've got a really solid offensive line who brought a key contributor back from last year. We'll talk about that here later on in the episode. But we've got an offensive structure built around this young QB, not to mention Kevin O'Connell calling the offense, that is just going to be massive for this year, next year, the year after that. The Vikings have got themselves a squad right now, man, and they're in a tough division. Like, still, even with all that said, they might be, I mean, they're not quite on the level of the Packers. They're not quite on the level of the Detroit Lions. They might not even be on the level of the Bears as far as overall roster is concerned, but that's just how insane the NFC North is this year. Best division in football. I'm calling it now, and that's not just the bias. It's a tinge of bias for sure because I'm an NFC North fan, but just go up and down that NFC North. Tell me the team that's going to be bad this year. I mean, this feels very, very similar to what we were looking at with the AFC North last year, really the AFC North for all years, quite frankly. You remember last year, though, I don't think a single team in the AFC North finished below 500, and we thought that might be the case. I think that might be the case this year for the NFC North. It is just a stacked division with, great offensive line play, great receivers, really good defenses across the board. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun this year. I am so glad we are done with the nonsense with Justin Jefferson. Massive, massive deal for him. And it's massive for the offense. It opens everything up. You knew this had to happen once we got rid of Kirk Cousins. You can't just, not pay Kirk Cousins and then decide, okay, we're not going to pay Justin Jefferson either. That wouldn't be responsible team building. I guess it would be fiscally advantageous because you don't have to, you don't have to worry about paying all that money. You're just making money at the end of the day. The fans are still going to show up. Bad owners do that sort of stuff. Owners that don't really care about winning so much as making money. No. The Wilfs may not be the most wealthy owners in the league, but they are a class act. And as such, they have locked in their star receiver, the best receiver in the league right now. He has separated himself in my mind. It's him and Tyreek Hill alone at the top, and then everyone else kind of fills in below them at this point. Excuse me. So, I'm dubious as to how the season is going to turn out. And you may remember in the recklessly early predictions, I had the Vikings making the playoffs, but I also had every other team in the NFC North making the playoffs because that's just how good the division is going to be this year. We'll see. It all kind of hinges on how good J.J. McCarthy is in year one. I was just having a discussion with a buddy who used to co-host with me. You may remember him from way back in the day if you're an OG on this podcast, but if not, whatever. I was having a discussion, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, a little bit. I'm curious as to what they do with the starting quarterback position to start the season. Do they go ahead? Excuse me, I got a little spittle on the monitor there. I had to wipe that off. It was just bothering me. What do they do with the start of the season though? Do they start J.J. McCarthy right out of the gates, or do they kind of give it a run-up time with Sam Darnold? Whatever they do, it's going to have. It's going to tell me a little bit of how they feel J.J. McCarthy is grasping the offense going into his rookie season, how they feel about him coming in right away. I feel like J.J. McCarthy was one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks coming out as far as being ready to start right away, and he's walking into a fantastic situation for a young QB. I think only Caleb Williams is probably in a better position for a rookie QB coming in, and I wouldn't even necessarily say that. Better receivers in Minnesota, better offensive line, probably better backfield as well. I mean, J.J. McCarthy, all he has to do is keep the rails on the track for this one. If we had any semblance of like average quarterback play down the stretch of last season, the Vikings probably would have been a playoff team, but they didn't, and as a result, they were 7-10. Put us in position to draft J.J. McCarthy, but ultimately, that's what happens when you don't have good QB play. I'm interested to see. I am cautiously optimistic. Well documented, wasn't a huge fan of J.J. McCarthy coming into the draft. I warmed up on the idea of him, knowing more and more as we got closer and closer to the draft that he was probably going to be the guy in Minnesota. But I'm kind of watching. You're not going to learn anything by the preseason OTAs. We aren't on the outside. Coaching staff will learn all they need to know from that sort of stuff. Really, we're going to learn based on what they decided to do with that starting job, how they decided to split up the first team reps in practice and preseason. Obviously, second preseason game now is the one, that's the real like tune-up game where everyone's playing, the full first half and then, a series or two in the second half and then sitting out from there. How they handle that, how they decide to split up the reps, I think will tell us a lot about how J.J. McCarthy is progressing. But he got himself one hell of a receiver locked up for the long term in Justin Jefferson. No more distractions with him holding out of OTAs on the low. He's going to be back in there. He's going to be with the team, and the vibes are high. The vibes are high right now. That's all I can say. It is good to be a Minnesota Vikings fan, and it is good to not have to hear the absolute drivel spilling out of the suckholes of people who have no idea what they are talking about on the Twitter sphere and across the internet for that matter. So congratulations to Justin Jefferson getting paid. If you could spot me $1 million, that would be cool. I would be very, very appreciative of that. A lot of beers I can get over on 5th Street with $1 million. So, keep that in mind. Just watch out for your boy. Come on. Cut me some of that $88 million you just got from your signing bonus. Just an idea. Business idea. You give me money and you get nothing in return. Sound good? I mean, sounds great to me. So, all right, there we go. Congrats to Justin Jefferson, and congrats to me for having the best receiver in the league locked up, $35 million a year. My goodness, I think he's the highest paid receiver in the entire league right now. Although Drew Rosenhaus is working, he's working right now. That would be the agent of Tyreek Hill, working to probably get a pay bump here in the coming weeks or so. All I know is that Justin Jefferson's a better person than Tyreek Hill, and I can rest on that. I can rest on that, folks. All right, so up next, another big wide receiver extension, not quite as big as the previous one we just talked about with Justin Jefferson. This time the Texans have signed wide receiver Nico Collins, a guy that broke out last season, to a 3-year, $72.75 million extension. $52 million of that is guaranteed and well-deserved. He really came on the scene last year. It's amazing what happens when you get a all-pro level quarterback as a rookie stepping in there. He steps up in a big way, shows that he's got the goods to be a number one receiver in this league. Maybe not on the upper echelons like a Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson or a Devontae Adams or someone in that light, but a legitimate number one receiver in the mold of like a Michael Pittman kind of tier sort of guy. Like a guy that, hey, maybe he's not the best receiver in the league, but he's certainly a number one on a lot of teams in this league. If you don't have an elite wide receiver in this league, having a guy like Nico Collins in there certainly helps you. So now they got, Tank Dell on his rookie deal. Stephon Diggs is in there now. He's on a 1-year deal, but it's kind of a prove-it year. He kind of tailed off towards the end of last season. I think he provides something really good for him. I love this receiving core the Texans have, man. They all do such different and complementary things. I mean, Nico Collins is kind of a big guy, gets down the field, wins 50-50 balls, all that sort of stuff. Tank Dell is a speedster. He can just burn you right down the sidelines or right up the middle, whatever you want him to do. And I think in this offense, Stephon Diggs is going to be more of the tactician, the route runner in the underneath, the guy that moves the chains, probably gets, anywhere from 5 to 7 catches a game to keep him happy and keep him from throwing a temper tantrum on the sidelines and later on Twitter. We all know how that works out with Stephon Diggs. I just love the makeup of this receiving core. Not to mention you got Dalton Schultz in there playing a classical receiving tight end role and playing it to damn near perfection. It's just it's a textbook example of how to surround a young quarterback with every opportunity imaginable to go out there and make some plays. A great structure over there with the Texans. Who would have thought just a year and a half ago that we would be talking about the Texans and Nick Caserio in this light of just great organization, great team building acumen. Congrats to Cal McNair for just getting the hell out of the way and hiring the right guy, Nick Caserio, from the start, it seems like. Lean years in between there. There were 2 years of just abject booty hole failure. I'll tell you what. I'm not talking about incontinence either. I'm just talking about the team was booty hole and it was an absolute failure. I will tell you what. But look what they've done. The offensive line still But they got an all-pro left tackle in Laramie Tunsil. They got young offensive linemen outside of Laramie Tunsil that have played some really, really good football. They got the guy. They got C.J. Stroud, who is already a top 10 QB, making that bump up there to the top 5. I think he is going to be well in the running for MVP this coming season. The guys on the outside I just went through with, Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, even more depth beyond that. I think they drafted some solid players in the mid-rounds this year as well to kind of help out. And, defensively, they did nothing but improve this year. Yes, they lost Jonathan Grenard. They lost Blake Cashman. Shout out to y'all. They're on the Vikings now. But they got better in the secondary. They got some good players up on the front seven. Obviously, they bring in Daniil Hunter, who is a legit star edge rusher. Hate to see him go. Love to watch him leave. Doesn't necessarily apply to this situation, but you know what I'm saying. I wish him all the best so long as he's not playing the Vikings at any point this year. But, you got a real bookend rusher. Derek Stingley kind of came along as the season went last year. Jalen Petrie on the back end. In addition to, they picked up another former 49er that was on the D'Amico Ryans big-time defense the year before that I just can't remember. But they've improved across the board, really. And I think Nick Caserio rightly has seen that when you have got a bona fide superstar on a rookie deal at the quarterback position, you would be committing team building malpractice not to go all the way in on what you have. And that's what they're doing right now. I love where the Texans are at. Giving Nico Collins his deal now is a smart move, really, really smart move. I'd say, worst case scenario, he doesn't necessarily live up to it. But I think you've seen enough now to where you can count on him to get anywhere from 1,100 to 1,400 yards a year. And hey, best case scenario, he gets even better. And now, I mean, the going rate for a top level wide receiver at this point, it's like $30 million a year. You saw Justin Jefferson just get 35. So worst case scenario, I think you're still getting a bargain on this guy. It's going to be a giant cap hit. But even so, if he can perform beyond that cap hit, and the offense would be even better. So I love what Nick Caserio is doing. I love this Texans team. I think that AFC South is a sneaky, interesting division. Hell, if the Jaguars come back this next season and they kind of put some stuff together, me and a lot of the nerds in football, I say that in a complimentary fashion. Sometimes I don't. This time I do. Me, dumb guy, and nerds, people who are smarter than me, kind of agree, it would appear, that Press Taylor isn't the best play caller of all time. And they didn't make a change there. But they do have a really solid receiving core. We'll see if Gabe Davis has a little bit more consistent production there in Jacksonville, yet to be seen. But Christian Kirk, really good wide receiver. Evan Ingram's a star tight end. Iffy on the offensive line. Shout out Trent Baalke. Never seems to get that one right, but somehow continues to keep his job. Whatever. They do still have, Trevor Lawrence is he's an enigma, man. He had, I mean, if you look at his numbers, they weren't fantastic last year, but you could just go on Twitter and look at a compilation of Trevor Lawrence dropped touchdowns from the year 2024. There were no less than like 5, maybe even closer to 10, like legitimate dropped touchdowns last year. And some of those were the guy that's going on the way out the door, Calvin Ridley, too, who just got a bag from Tennessee, who we'll talk about here in just a second. But that, if the Jaguars are better this year, I think the Colts are going to be way, way better. I think if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy, the Colts might be the second best team in this division. I think they're going to make the playoffs when it's all said and done. Obviously, the Texans are the Texans. I think they're the clear-cut best team in this division. Hell, even the Titans. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year, but I like the moves they made this offseason. Like, they had a bad roster, and, sometimes there's this perception that it's like, okay, you're either a bad team or you're contending for a championship, and there's no in between for people. There's no just, improvement throughout the course of an offseason. The Titans improved, undoubtedly. They made some good moves this offseason. They lost a few guys, which is going to happen every single year. It's the nature of the beast. But you bring in good players kind of across the roster. You kind of shore up the offensive line, both in the draft and through free agency. Bring in Calvin Ridley to help out your young quarterback and Will Levis. That's the main determining factor for them. If Will Levis can come back, just have a solid year, show some progression off of the flashes he saw in year one, I mean, the Titans could be frisky as well. They could be anywhere, 7-10, 8-9. Maybe they luck out, go like 9-8 or something like that. AFC South is a sneaky, sneaky good division, a sneaky entertaining division, and I'm looking forward to watching that one, man. It's going to be a fun season in the NFL this year, and it's kind of, it's headlined by a lot of young players, which is great. Absolutely great for the league. Makes me feel great about being a football fan going forward. But once again, congratulations to Nico Collins on his deal. And, while I'm at it, congratulations to Justin Jefferson. I'm so damn excited about that one. It feels good, folks. It feels good. I saw that one. I didn't even need more coffee this morning when I was sitting at my desk. I saw that notification come across the timeline, and it was like straight up cocaine got shoved right up my nostrils, right in my brain even. It was awesome. It was awesome. I went outside, took a break, and was just like, everything in the world is right, and I love the people that I am surrounded by on any given day. It's fantastic. It made me a happier person today when I found out that Justin Jefferson got signed to a new deal, but congrats to Nico Collins as well. All right, so getting back to the Minnesota stuff, just totally went to the wrong headline there. We'll go with the Minnesota one first, all right? And this will be a quick one. The Vikings re-signed guard Dalton Reisner to a 1-year deal after he beat Ezra Cleveland out of a job, sent him to Jacksonville. Yeah, that was a mess up by me, but whatever. This is a sneaky, impactful signing, I think. And I was hoping we would bring back Dalton Reisner just because he's not the type of guy that's gonna, be a perennial Pro Bowler. He may not make a Pro Bowl in his entire career, but he's good for the culture, man. He came in mid-season last year after, being signed off the street, comes in, takes Ezra Cleveland's job, and you could see the run game just get noticeably better when Dalton Reisner went in there. He is a guy that, just relentless effort, a guy that you'll see running consistently down the field, not only on run plays when a run breaks loose. You'll see him, a receiver catches a ball 20 yards down the field. You can bet your ass that if he stays on his feet long enough, you will see Dalton Reisner's big ol' ass running into the frame, looking for a body to put on the ground. He's a great culture guy. Like I said, he's not the most gifted pass protector in the entire world, but a good run blocker, a guy that's going to give relentless effort the entire time. I love that we brought him back. Would love to see the guy get paid. Really, anyone that plays in the Vikings, I want the best for you in the future, so long as you don't commit horrible crimes. And if you do, rescind that statement. But if you don't, I want to see you get paid. There just wasn't really a market for Dalton Risner's services for whatever reason, so he comes back for 1 year. I'm hoping we can keep him around for a while. If we can't upgrade from Dalton Risner, I love having a good culture guy in there like that just sets the tone for everyone in the interior, everyone in the offense. He brings just a physical, relentless presence that I love for this offense. So shout out to Dalton Risner. Still going to be a fan favorite next year, I would imagine. Yeah, but looking forward to it. Good signing, really. I mean, you don't usually see signings like that later in the cycle that you can look at right away if you're in the know and just be like, yeah, that's going to be an impactful signing. I think Dalton Risner is one of those guys, though. I really, really like this guy, and I really like the fact that we got him back on the team. All right, doubling back to the headline I skipped. One potentially impactful signing. Very, very heavy emphasis on the word potentially. Jets picked up Tariq Cohen on a 1-year deal. He's struggled to find employment after tearing his Achilles, I believe. That was all the way back in 2020. He has not played in the NFL since 2020, so no guarantee he even makes the roster. But no harm in signing him, bringing him in, see if there's anything left in the tank. Worst case scenario, he's just not got it anymore, which is the likeliest scenario here with him, coming off an Achilles. Running backs simply don't come back from Achilles very often. Cam Akers' career is probably done, unfortunately. He tore both his Achilles over the course of his career, and Tariq Cohen's been out of the league for 4 years, so we have no idea. But if he's got a little something left in the tank, especially with these new kickoff rules that I think are going to allow for a lot more space for guys to break off big returns, this could be a really, really impactful signing. It could really just change the dynamic of their return game for the New York Jets, and he's not really a guy that you have to, take away from the offense. He's not going to crack the lineup for the offense. I think he'll probably be either the third, fourth, maybe even fifth back behind, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, who they just drafted. I think they also still have Michael Carter in there, I want to say. So it's a deep backfield. You don't have to worry about, getting him tired for offense because he's not going to play a whole lot on offense. He's just going to be solely a return specialist. And hey, if he turns out to be a good player, this could be, one of those signings that, you need a couple signings like this late in the cycle, going into June, July, ramping up towards training camp. There's always seems to be, one or two guys that step in and end up making big time plays for a team that goes on a championship run. Maybe Tariq Cohen is that guy. That's the optimistic part of me. I don't necessarily think he's going to end up making the team, but no harm in taking a flyer, right? No harm in taking a flyer. All right, so next up, we got more contract shit going on. Wide receiver Jawan Jennings is re-signing with the 49ers on a 2-year, $15.4 million deal. $10 million of that is guaranteed. And that's great money for a guy getting signed this late in the cycle right now. You don't usually see that from a guy that, all due respect to Jawan Jennings, I like him as a player. He's not a guy that's going to be higher than like a number 3, I would say, in most situations. So, $15.4 million, $10 million, right? That's bird in the hand right there. You're getting that pretty much no matter what. That's good. That's good money for right now, and it's probably the best situation for him to go back into. He has thrived in that Shanahan offense, I'll tell you what. So, good to have him back. 49ers, man, one more season. That's all they got. They got this season to go in there and try to make one more run while Brock Purdy is still making, by NFL standards, poverty money before they have to pay him. I don't know what they pay Brock Purdy, man. It's going to be interesting. If Brock Purdy has another season where he's averaging like 10 yards per attempt, is right there on the cusp of the MVP conversation, they've got to pay him $50 million. Like that's basically what they have to do. I am going to be fascinated by that conversation because I think there's a legitimate argument to be made that, maybe if he was in a different offense, he would not be playing nearly as well as he is right now, and that's obvious. I think you could put just about any quarterback in this offense, and they would have maybe the best season they've ever had in their entire career. Just go ask Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan got like a bag off of that one, or not like 1 year, but that last year that he had with Kyle Shanahan, that ended up getting him that big old contract extension afterwards before Shanahan went off to join the 49ers as the head coach. So in the context of Brock Purdy here, I will be interested to see what that contract looks like. I'll be interested to see if they play hardball with him. If they don't and they give him $50 million, there are some big old roster decisions that have to be made. Namely, they are not keeping both Debo and Ayuk. They are keeping one. They cannot afford to keep both without severely handicapping the rest of the roster. And if they keep both of them, like I'm saying, they're going to have to let go of someone else. Maybe it's a Fred Warner. Maybe it's, Dre Greenlaw. We'll see how he looks after the Achilles. That might unfortunately be the easy decision to make on that one. But they're going to have to make sacrifices elsewhere, probably on the offensive line. George Kittle's getting up there in years. Maybe they let him go at the end of the day. Like, you can't keep both of those receivers. This is, again, the last year you're going to get the super team 49ers at full strength. This is a put up or shut up year. I'm not saying the window is going to be closed after this year. I am saying this is as wide open as the 49ers window is ever going to get throughout the career of Brock Purdy. So they need to capitalize this year. Otherwise, they'll have squandered their best chance, plain and simple. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the 49ers do this year. I think they're going to be just as good. Not that I didn't even mention Christian McCaffrey. Who knows how many years of elite Christian McCaffrey we have left? We may just have one or two of them left. So they really have to capitalize this year. I think the 49ers are a really, really good football team. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm getting excited for football, man. We're under 100 days till football. I'm just trying to distract myself from the dog days of summer that are coming. Don't you worry. They are coming. The NBA playoffs is almost done. Hockey playoffs is almost done. Shout out to Connor McDavid making it to the Stanley Cup final over there in hockey. Hope he wins one because he's fantastic. I don't really watch hockey, but Connor McDavid is a spectacle of a player. But yeah, summer is coming, folks. Better start watching baseball. That's all I got to say, because it's about to be the only thing on. Baseball, WNBA. That's what we got on the docket for the summer, with some golf sprinkled in there as well. But as I said before, golf is like, it's so far down the totem pole, it's not even really worth mentioning. But yeah, enjoy that. Enjoy that one, folks. All right, so another big-time extension, which I probably should have put higher up in the show, but we're already here 32 minutes in, can't change it now. The Dolphins have locked up star wide receiver Jalen Waddle to a 3-year, $84.75 million extension, $76 million guaranteed. That is a damn good guarantee right there. I mean, all but $8 million in change, almost $9 million is guaranteed on this contract for 3 years too. That's an insane amount of guarantees. It lets you know how invested Stephen Ross is, how invested Chris Greer is in keeping this team afloat and together and paying their superstars. Makes me wonder what the Tua Tagovailoa contract is going to look like. They're again probably paying him like $50 million. In this upcoming season. That's another fascinating contract situation. But Jalen Waddle gets a big-time contract. Now him and Tyreek Hill are locked up for the next couple years at the very least. And it's go time. It is go time there in Miami. And by go time, I mean the window is probably closed. Let's be honest here. They've got to pay their quarterback, who I am yet to be convinced is that good. Doesn't really. I saw a hilarious, and it's fantasy stats, so take that with a grain of salt. But I saw a hilarious sort of graphic yesterday when I was scrolling through Twitter. It was a breakdown of QB fantasy points. What was their percentage of fantasy points that came from passing, and the percentage that came from rushing? You had Jalen Hurts up there with like 60% of his fantasy production coming from the rushing part of it. Lamar Jackson is a little bit more modest. He's at 30-some%, high 30s, and then you get Derek Carr's at 99% coming from passing. Aiden O'Connell's at 95. The lone guy on the graphic who had 100% passing to account for his fantasy statistics was Tua Tagovailoa, the only guy. And there were some damn near completely immobile guys on that list. I mean, hell, Jared Goff had like 7% of his fantasy production coming on the ground. Like, Tua is just so hilariously immobile. And it kind of speaks to a little bit of the problem. I love Mike McDaniel. I think he really matured as a play caller last year, and I expect him to continue maturing this year, really leaning into that run game, really providing a dynamic sort of run-pass mix there in this upcoming season. The problem is, one, they got into, just a hellishly cold environment. I'm talking hell with one L, the Norse hell. In the playoffs, just totally just went full Parkinson's there for a second. So they get into the playoffs and they just can't do anything because it's just the offensive line that they have isn't awesome, and they can't really pass the ball on a consistent basis when your quarterback doesn't have the strongest arm in the world and you're throwing to like consistent 30-mile-an-hour winds. That's just not feasible at the end of the day. So they have that. And at the end of the day, if you get in Tua's face, if you get him in kind of off schedule, if you move him off his spot, get him off his timing, he's just simply not nearly as good. And that's the case for most quarterbacks, but there's such a noticeable drop-off when Tua is not on time and not playing within the structure of the offense. It's just worth a question. How much can Tua produce above and beyond what his expectations are? Or not really his expectations, but what the offense dictates. Can he go in there like a C.J. Stroud and, hey, if all else breaks down, I escape from the pocket, I make a play down the field, and we keep the chains moving, that's all me. That's not, the offense. As brilliant as Mike McDaniel is, no play caller is so perfect that they never need their quarterback to go out there and make some magic sometimes. That's even Kyle Shanahan. I don't think he would admit that, but even Kyle Shanahan needs a guy that goes out there and does some magical shit. Brock Purdy, that's kind of the reason why this team went over the top. Not just because they got Christian McCaffrey, but you bring in Brock Purdy. Sometimes Brock Purdy is just, big cock Brock. Fuck it, I'm just throwing this ball, just taking some asinine risks and converting on them. That's the type of shit that puts your team over the top, and I don't see that from Tua right now. I just don't. Maybe that's something he can add to the game a little bit more. I just don't know. He's not a super dynamic athlete. He doesn't move great out of the pocket. And I think a lot of it kind of goes back to, Mississippi State. I apologize, Tua. I cannot remember for the life of me which defensive lineman it was, but, one of them broke his hip when he was playing Mississippi State in college. And his athleticism, his mobility has never been the same since. That's kind of what happens when you break your hip, unfortunately. But I don't know. Maybe he can recapture a little bit of that. I'm skeptical to say the least. But hey, Jalen Waddle's a good start. That's all I gotta say. I mean, at least you got a really good top line, 2 wide receivers, and you can work from there, right? We'll see how it all works out. My expectations are not high at all for the Miami Dolphins. I feel like, they benefit from kind of having a drop off in the division overall. I think the team that's really going to rise to the occasion this year is the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I think they should, I don't know about clear cut, but they should be the favorites to win this division. The Bills are still right there, like next to them, but diminished roster this year. They had to shed a lot of salary cap. Miami Dolphins, same thing. Patriots are rebuilding right now. The Dolphins benefit from kind of having a down year in the division overall, talent-wise, but I just don't see them getting far in the postseason when it's all said and done. I don't know if they get there even, quite frankly. So, yeah, hey, way to pay your stars, though. That's what good organizations do, and I don't know if Miami is necessarily a quote-unquote good organization, but they've proven to be competent. So, hey, I'm down to see where that thing goes. I'm down to see it. All right, up next, Hard Knocks will be in Chicago this season for training camp. It's the first time a team that picked number 1 overall will be featured, and it's the first time the Bears will be featured on Hard Knocks. Boy, I won't spend too long on this, but I am praying for some weird shit from Caleb Williams. Like, I show Caleb Williams at the nail salon getting a manicure, painting some weird shit on his fingernails. I want to see, just funny sequin patterns that he's wearing, patterns on the fingernails. Maybe you just, you do a day in the life of Caleb Williams, and you get into some fun, like, metrosexual habits that he's got. I'm just praying for weird shit from Caleb Williams. Not even to make fun of him, just to see how unhinged the reaction is on Twitter, because it will be unhinged. let me tell you. I don't think that the traditional Chicago people that have been around since the 90s are prepared for the first real Gen Z quarterback, and that is exactly what Caleb Williams is. I am excited. I'm excited to watch it, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm interested to see how that city reacts to him. I think they'll embrace him, honestly. If he's as good as he seems to be, and I think he will live up to the hype. I think he's been put in a fantastic situation to succeed up there. Oh man, if he doesn't though, the discourse, we're about to lose so much progress that we've made in these last several years as far as inclusion and acceptance. You start losing games and start playing bad if you're Caleb Williams, you're about to hear some of the worst shit you've heard in your entire life. And, I'm not rooting against the kid. He's a kid at the end of the day. He's like 21. So, I don't have any ill will towards the kid himself. I would be, mildly amused if the Chicago Bears did shit the bed. So that could be fun. Also looking for weird shit from Matt Eberflus. He's kind of a goofy, weird guy. Kind of looks like a little bit more and more like Dracula every day with that slick back hair. Had a bit of a glow up last year, but he's just a strange dude, and I'm sure he's going to come out with some weird quotes. Equanimous St. Brown, he's related to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Equanimous St. Brown is still on that team. Maybe you get some fun quotes out of him. Like, there's so many opportunities. They got some big personalities in the secondary. I think this will be an entertaining product. Now, don't get me wrong. I will not watch a second of Hard Knocks. Never have, never will. I don't really care enough. I'd much rather be going out there playing video games with the boys than watching Hard Knocks at the end of the day. But I'm open to it. I think the clips on Twitter are going to be fantastic. I think Liev Schreiber is still going to have that sweet, sweet voice of his, and it's going to be a good product. I think the NFL made a good choice here. But again, hoping for weird shit from Matt Eberflus, Caleb Williams. That's my wish list. If you fulfill those things and the clips make it on Twitter where I'll actually see them, you've done your job in my book. You've absolutely done your job. So looking forward to that one. Again, clips on Twitter, not actually watching it. Clips on Twitter. And this is kind of what I thought might happen. As I thought last week might be the case, the Commies have released kicker Brandon McManus following sexual assault allegations stemming from an incident that happened on the Jaguars plane last year on the way back from London. Oh, excuse me. Subsequent lawsuit filed there against him last week. This was pretty easy to see coming. Kickers are too damn replaceable to put up with this much controversy. And yes, I'm implying that if he was a QB, star wide receiver, corner, big time money positions, there was a much greater chance, and I would say a full likelihood that the team would wait for the due process to play out. Hell, look at, I'm not even going to give out an example. Well, Tyreek Hill. Look at all the shit that Tyreek Hill has gone through over the course of his career. I'm not saying he's guilty of anything because he never got convicted of anything, but bad guy. I'm really comfortable saying Tyreek Hill's a bad guy, and he's still getting paid second, third most among wide receivers. I think A.J. Brown passed him earlier this offseason. Justin Jefferson just reset the market at $35 a year. Still, best receiver in the league, you can turn your eyes away to maybe abusing your family members and breaking the leg of a supermodel on Instagram. If you're really good at football and you're a high value position, but at kicker, the leash is just so short it's almost non-existent. There's too many good kickers out there that you can replace Brandon McManus with to put up with any sort of distraction and tomfoolery. So you could see this coming from a mile away. If I had to guess, they're probably gonna have a kicker competition. But I'd be shocked if they didn't bring in one of those XFL kickers that's balling. They've had a couple kickers that have bombed some 60-yard field goals in the course of this UFL season. I think they probably bring one of those in, especially after all the success that Brandon Aubrey had last year, coming from the MLS, goes to the XFL, now the UFL, and then switches over to the Cowboys and has a fantastic year for the Cowboys last year. And then it kind of paves the way for some of those UFL kickers that have been balling to come along. I think that's probably the most clear-cut pipeline from the UFL to the NFL is that kicker position, because it's so translatable. There's just not a whole lot of difference between the UFL and the NFL from the kicking perspective. Now, you look at other positions, there's a drop-off in competitiveness and overall level of talent that doesn't apply to the kicking position. So I think you'll see a lot of UFL kickers, and I would anticipate that's where the commies are going to go in this circumstance. So looking forward to seeing that. There's a good chance that Brandon McManus will never play another down of football again. So, yeah, you play shitty games, you get shitty prizes, I suppose. All right, so we have got Dos Mas headlines here. First, Darren Waller, current Giants tight end. He is expected to retire. And, that one kind of got swept under the rug because it comes on the heels of him releasing a music video. Darren Waller does, I suppose you could call it R&B. It's a lot of auto-tune. Yeah, and I'll leave it at that. You don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, as they always said in elementary school. But yeah, he released a music video for a song he made about his divorce with WNBA star Kelsey Plum, currently of the Las Vegas Aces, back-to-back WNBA champions. And it was something. It was something. I believe at one point, towards the end of the video, Darren Waller is seen hugging. Also, by the way, let's be honest here. We're talking. We're in the closet of solitude. We're in the trust tree here. It was objectively hilarious. It wasn't meant to be hilarious, but that's part of why it was a hilarious music video. I mean, people, Darren Waller had a fake Kelsey Plum playing in his music video for the song that he made after his divorce with Kelsey Plum. Has a fake Kelsey Plum that he argues with throughout the course of the music video through his music. And at one point, the fake Kelsey Plum and him are hugging, and the fake Kelsey Plum stabs Darren Waller in the back, and Darren Waller falls face first into the beach. The tide washes up on his face, and he has to pretend like he's not having trouble breathing, but he's clearly having trouble breathing there. And it's just, there's so many facets, not the least. And again, maybe it's someone else's cup of tea. I'm just not sure. And I'll say it quietly. I don't know how good Darren Waller is at singing, but who am I to judge? I'm not a great singer either, but I don't think he's very good. I'm just gonna put it out there, and I'm saying it quietly because I think it's the more polite way to do it, but it's really still not very polite. But that's the first layer of it. It's a song. It's a song for sure. Then you factor in the fake Kelsey Plum, which is just it's a little on the nose. Maybe could have gone for a little bit more of a symbolic theme in the music video. You don't necessarily have to put in a literal fake Kelsey Plum. And then on top of that, you have the stabbing in the back. Buddy, you're the one who cheated on her. Like, what? She stabbed you in the back. Bro, you were out there running around New York just getting strange when you have maybe the hottest wife you could possibly imagine. I don't think Darren Waller is going to do any better than Kelsey Plum, quite frankly. I mean, she's hot as hell. She's got her own money. Like as far as I'm concerned, Kelsey Plum was the total package. You decided, nah, I'm going to go out there and fool around in these streets. And there's just so many layers of just hilarity. It's one of those dumb internet things that really, it's what keeps me coming back to Twitter at the end of the day. You don't see something like that unless you're on Twitter, you're on that social media. You don't come across stuff like, it's like, in a different vein, but kind of similar. It's like that video that circulated last week with the guy that had a Zoom court appearance for his suspended license and came into Zoom while he was behind the wheel of a car, driving said car for a suspended license. You don't see that shit unless you're on social media. It's the type of shit that keeps me coming back. And the Darren Waller music video is just, it's one of those things, man. It's one of the reasons why I'll just never delete that app. As much as I hate it sometimes, as much as I don't want to see people die every now and again. Shout out to Elon Musk for just, having some snuff films on his app nowadays. But man, I can't. Every time I think I'm out, they just pull me back in, man. Every single time. It's just, there's always something. There's always something that hits on that damn app. And on a real note, though, I hope Darren Waller is okay. Like, probably done playing football, going through a divorce, releases a bad music video that he's getting clowned for online. All of this needs to be viewed in the fact that he is a recovering alcoholic. Like, he got sober a good several years ago at this point. I think back when he was playing for the Raiders, maybe shortly before he got picked up by the Raiders. It's fun to laugh. It really is fun to laugh. I just hope he's doing okay. Like, I hope he doesn't relapse and go back into a dark place. That's not really, I don't think, what anyone wants. And, if that happens, I'll stop laughing for sure. But yeah, all that is to say, I'll laugh. I'll continue to laugh because that shit's objectively hilarious. At the end of the day, though, let's not lose sight of the fact that he's a human with some demons in the past and going through maybe the toughest time that he's had to face since he became sober. I hope his friends are checking in on him. That's really all I can say. I hope his friends are checking in on him because he probably needs it now more than just about ever. And there you go. There's my soliloquy on Darren Waller. Hope he's good. That shit's still fucking hilarious, man. You're not going to convince me otherwise. If it leads to a terrible down spiral, I will stop laughing. But in this very moment, that shit's fucking hilarious. You're not going to guilt me into saying that shit's not hilarious because it absolutely is. All right. One more here, and kind of just like, I'm not talking about a whole lot of baseball. I don't follow it close enough to have intelligent discussions about it, so I don't want to bring that idiocy onto this show. I have enough of the idiocy on this show as it is. But something interesting happened last week that, it's not really a big deal when it's all said and done. It's just numbers. But the MLB did decide to incorporate the Negro League records into MLB's all-time records. So there's a new batting king, Josh Gibson, big-time Negro League player when he was with, I forget the team, played in Pittsburgh, but he's the batting champion now. He's batting champion in a lot of different statistical categories. He shot, 372 for his career, and there's a lot of other statistical profiles that are being incorporated, and this should have happened a long time ago because really in that era when black players were not allowed to play on the same teams as white players, you can make a real argument that the Negro Leagues were better competition than what the MLB was back in those days. And you had guys like Satchel Paige, you had guys like Josh Gibson coming in and putting up crazy numbers in equivalent or better competition settings. absolutely they should be included. They weren't playing the same players, but they were playing the same basic level of competition, if not even higher. So I like this. I liked it. It's interesting. It's not. I mean, the steroid era just basically made a lot of these statistical profiles meaningless because, the big juice heads went in there and just, shot at the high hell as far as the home runs and stuff are concerned. But it is fascinating. It is fascinating seeing where these players rank, players that I'd not heard of. I'd never heard of Josh Gibson before he became the batting king last week. So I love it. I mean, I don't love it's a strong word. I'm fascinated by this sort of stuff, and I think it's good. It's a good step in the right direction. Good of them to wait until after people cared less about the statistics anymore and more about advanced statistics. Good of them to wait to include the former Negro League players after that was happening, but baby steps, little bits of progress. That's all we can ask for. And shout out to Josh Gibson, batting king, batting champion of all time. Beat out Ty Cobb, who was, purportedly a racist back in the day. I don't know. It's good. We're defeating racism one battle at a time, I suppose. And I think that's a good cue for me to get done here. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. That's all I got for you this week, folks. If you enjoyed, go ahead, hit subscribe wherever you listen to this. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, any place you're listening to this. Go ahead, subscribe, share with a friend, help me grow this thing a little bit. If you want to follow me on the socials, it is at CalebVUA on the Twitters. That's pretty much all I'm on, so go ahead, follow me there. If you want to hit up the show, you can probably just shoot me a DM. My DMs are open. Just go in, slide in. Let me know what you're thinking, what you maybe want to add to the show. I'm open to feedback like that. So, go ahead, slide in there. If you want to go a little bit more traditional route, though, I do have an email address. It's unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. That's unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. And, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I've got no clue what I'm talking about, but one thing that I learned on this beautiful, beautiful week, the largest star in the known universe is called UY Scuti. It is a red supergiant whose radius is 909 times greater than the sun. For context, the volume is 750 million times greater than the sun. And just for scale, if it were placed in our solar system where the sun sits right now at the center, it would swallow Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, and Jupiter. That's how damn big UY Scuti is. It is mind-boggling, folks. And with that, you learn something new every day. And I'll cut this thing off just short of an hour. I will see y'all on the morrow. By on the morrow, I mean next Tuesday. Deuces.